What would you tell someone that has that little inner voice telling them they should make a change, but they're not sure, or that maybe they should change a job or move? Like there's just something. They're in the wrong relationship, or they should get in a relationship, whatever it is. It could be finance, romance, where they live, anything, but they're not sure. Oh, that's just discontent. It's because everything's messed up in the world, or whatever, and they're not listening to it. What would you tell somebody?
Yeah, I would say if it's a maybe, this is such a simple way to put it, and it's like the most direct way. If it's a maybe, it's still a no. It's not going to be a yes until it's a heaven yes. Like we are going all the way with our empowerment and our full body yes. And right now, you're going to see ideas and illusions and revelations coming through a collective consciousness that it's a little scary to think about sometimes. We don't bring a fear vibration, but we think about, wow, there's so much misinformation, there's so much conflicting polarity, things that are happening in the collective that we don't want to pull from the collective anymore. We don't want to pull our ideas from the media. We don't want to pull our ideas from what's going on in the mass collective. That's not a smart thing to do right now. Now it's good to be aware and it's good to know what's going on. And as far as your own sovereign being, how do I determine what my yes is? Because there's so much. There's so much we have to wade through in order to get really clear with ourselves. And I'll tell you what, our consciousness is moving into a place, and I would argue has moved into a place where you're operating from, I'm operating from, and I know a lot of your listeners are operating from already, is a heart guided place. And so when we feel into a decision, that it needs to be from your heart. Now, I know some people on here might be, into astrology, your zodiac, your human design, like, oh, I'm a manifesting generator. I feel into my sacral first. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. But I encourage everyone to start feeling and running decisions by your heart, because if we're too much in our head, right, we're in the ping pong, ding, 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 ding in our head, we are not operating in our heart space. We're operating in an ego consciousness, and that can be a little dangerous. And it certainly feels exciting to our heart space to know a solid answer. And sometimes we're not comfortable in staying in that uncertainty. We just know, hey, well, this is a decision that's up for me. I have a lot of different options. This could happen. I could see a timeline where this could happen, but does it feel like a full yes? So until you are at the full yes, I would argue and present, I wouldn't argue with anyone, but I would present this information as like an opportunity for you to just get really clear in your heart space and feel into your yes. And it may be no, 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 until the moment that it's a yes. And then you are going to have your full guidance behind you. So that's my little piece of advice on how to weigh, our ego in these times against like what our highest consciousness is directing us towards.
And here's my truncated answer. What I was taught: when in doubt, do nothing, which is actually what you said, unless you're really there in your heart's centered space. But for people who are just scared and running from fear, but they know, and it's time, but they've just run from a place of fear for too long, what would you tell them?
Fear consciousness, I would propose an invitation to weigh what is yours versus what is coming in from the collective as not yours to hold. So a lot of times we can think of fear as a personal identification marker when it's not. It's just a gauge, and it's just in the energy world, which is my specialty, it is a lower vibrating frequency. And so we are not made up of lower vibrating frequency. Like when we go back to our soul level, that's not a fear consciousness. That's a love consciousness. That's a 5-dimensional and higher unity frequency where we are just boundless, endless love. We are eternal. We're not, we're actually all woven in together. We're not separate. And so when we look at that, the fear frequency and how that fits in there, there's only love and then an absence of love. So if we're experiencing separation consciousness, which could be also that fear, right? I would propose to allow the fear feeling to sit with that, feel it, and then we have to feel to heal. So what do? We release it. Just like when we're holding on, like imagine like a pencil in my hand and then just letting it go and it would fall to the floor and roll. That's exactly what we do with the fear frequency. We're holding, and then once we recognize, hey, I have been holding on to this. Oh geez, you know what? I'm going to be super compassionate with myself and recognize that I too have been holding, but now I can take responsibility for that and let it go. And it is a conscious choice. It's not something that we have to be beholden to, because as creator beings, we know that we're not playing that game of it's happening to me, right? It's happening for me because I created this in my consciousness.
So that brought up a couple different questions. First, Reiki. Why don't you explain what that is for anybody who isn't aware?
Yeah, so Reiki, and you can pronounce it a bunch of different ways, but sometimes I pair it together as the two parts of the word. So Rei meaning universal and Ki meaning energy. And Reiki is the universal energy channel. And so when we are receiving Reiki, we are receiving a clearing, so an energy cleanse. And some people, will call this like an auric cleanse or a chakra cleanse or balancing. And it's one of the things that I work with during my sound healings, but it's also something that I have been, had a long time practice with. I have a couple different masteries and lineages, but it's all just words, right? Because at the end of the day, like the energy speaks for itself, and that's a loving frequency. And we get to tune into that anytime that we meditate, anytime that we're in a giving place with our energy, open place with our energy. And a lot of people channel Reiki naturally. And you understand, like when we are working with a child or giving nurturing and loving to a partner or someone, a friend who's ill, okay, we are working intimately with that person and passing energy to them. And when we are working with Reiki, we're doing the same thing, but we are channeling the energy. So with an attunement, we actually have a lot of our spinal channels and our chakra channels open up so that we can support that energy transmission. Because if you're giving Reiki and you're not attuned, let's say we're not trained or anything, we're just giving, 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 what happens? We get pretty depleted because we are giving, giving, giving. And so I know for my women clients, and all of my sisters, and we just give a lot. And that has been the program, is just to give until we're depleted. But this is an old paradigm, as we know, because we're no longer giving, giving, giving. We're not the giving tree. We are channeling and allowing others we're serving others, but we're not depleting ourselves, which is really important. I would say that that's pretty much the most important thing to remember about Reiki. But a lot of people that I've given Reiki to, and friends also, describe it as a loving energy, which is it feels a little like electricity. It feels like a little like buzz, body buzz. It feels like a massage for your soul. And it's really gentle. You can literally any age, right? I've worked on, actually my youngest, if you consider like in utero youngest, because it is safe for pregnancy. So I've worked on babies. I've worked on 90 and up, like elders, and bless them because they're like so open to trying something like that, and everybody in between. So it's really like safe and gentle as compared to something like body work that we can experience, which I love body work. I love all kind of energy healing. And it's really important to find a practitioner that you resonate with and that feels good energetically to you. Because if somebody says, well, maybe they come with a lot of credentials, but you're just like, I don't know about their energy. I'm not really vibing with that frequency. It doesn't feel good to me. that will affect the session. So it is important to pick someone and go with a Reiki healer or with the healing vibration that you're feeling, that frequency for sure.